Welcome to Accountancy Learning's AAT sample paper debriefs. I'm Sarah, and in this video I'll take you through the Principles of Costing sample paper 2 task 7. So task 7 is about budget calculations and exception reporting using formulas. For part A, we have a statement that we need to complete. Budgets facilitate, and we've got excessive spending or planning, which enables a business to meet the required objectives or hide potential issues. So budgets then, budgets is all about forecasting and planning what we want to do in the future. So budgets help facilitate planning, which enables a business to, and we want to meet our required objectives. So the business will have objectives, and in order to do that, budgets will help plan to see how the business can do to meet their objectives. Shark Repairs Limited services vacuum cleaners. So for part B, we are given some information and we need to complete the following table. Now in this question there is some quite specific instructions that we're given. So we're told that formulas must be used for the figures entered into these 4 cells. And if you need to, you can refer to the formula guidance in the references page. So on the right hand side of your screen, you'll have a references box. You can click on there and it will show you the formula guidance. We're then told that all the remaining cells that we're going to fill in should be figures only. So we shouldn't be using formulas in any cells but the 4 there, which are highlighted in yellow at the bottom here. We need to make sure that we show adverse variances using a minus sign. Our monetary values should be to the nearest whole pound, and we're told that the variance percentage column is already pre-formatted to 2 decimal places. So let's have a look at what we need to do. So we need to complete the table using the information that we're given here. And we also need to identify whether the variances are adverse or favourable, and that's in the drop downs. So revenue, so this is one of our yellow cells, so we need to use a formula for revenue. So obviously in your exam you'll be typing. So you're going to want to do revenue is equal, it's going to be our selling price, so that's C2, multiplied by our units, 6,000, so that's B5. So you'll type in that formula and then it will change to a number. The next part of the budget is the direct labour. So again, this is a formula cell. So we're going to equals, we're going to take the £25 per hour, so C3, multiply that by the number of labour hours in B3, and again you will then get a figure there. Now to make you aware, these figures, they will auto sum, so they're going to calculate based on the figures that you put in the boxes. So once you've finished your budget, this will have recalculated to 117,500. You've got your actuals, so now let's look at our variances. So the yellow box there is for our formula, and we're looking at revenue. So remember with variances, the revenue and the cost variances have to be calculated in the opposite way to each other. So revenue is always actual minus budget, and cost is budget minus actual. So the variance then is going to be our actual, so equals C10 minus B10. And that will give us minus 3,000. Now for the next lot, we have to enter the figures. So we're now on direct labour, which is a cost. So direct labour, so it's going to be budget minus actual, which is 2,000. And our overheads, budget minus actual, is minus 1,000. And again, in the exam, it will auto calculate to minus 2,000. Now we need to identify, are they adverse or favourable? So our revenue was minus 3,000 because our actual was lower than our budget. So that's going to be an adverse variance. It wasn't what we were expecting. Our direct labour was 2,000, but our budget was higher than our actual, so it actually cost us less than what we were expecting. So that is a favourable variance. Our fixed overheads cost us 56, but we were only expecting 55, so it's an adverse variance of £1,000. It cost us £1,000 more than we were expecting. And our profit, we were expecting 117,500, but we only got 115,500, so we didn't make as much as we wanted to make, so that is adverse. So now we can look at our variance percentages. So again, we're in a yellow box, so we need to do a formula for this one. And when we're doing our formula, we take our variance and divide it by our budget. So D10 divided by B10, and then multiply it by 100, which would give us a minus 1.43. And remember, it's already been pre-formatted to 2 decimal places. For direct labour, this time we're just going to be putting in figures, so we need to do the calculations ourselves. So 2,000, and we're going to divide the 2,000 by 37,500 and multiply by 100 to give us 5.33. And then for our fixed overheads, we're going to take our minus 1,000, divide it by our £55,000 budget, times it by 100 to get minus 1.82. And again, this will auto sum in the exam to minus 1.70. So when you're working through, do make sure that you are looking at how you need to format your answers, because a lot of students will lose marks here by continuously putting formulae in, and then you wouldn't pick up the marks for all of the items that you're meant to be adding figures only. Then the final part of this task is part C, and we need to identify whether the following descriptions of variances are true or false. An adverse overhead variance could be because office rental costs were negotiated to be cheaper in the year. So adverse means it was worse than what we were expecting. So if we're looking at office rental costs, we're expecting them to be, say, 1,000. If it's adverse, it might have come in at 2,000. So they were higher than what we were expecting. So if they'd been negotiated to be cheaper, we would expect it to actually be favourable. So that makes this statement false. And then the final bit, a favourable revenue variance could be due to selling more items but at a cheaper price. So this could actually be true because we are selling more in terms of volume because we've lowered the price. So if we have something marked up at £10 per item and we reduce it to £7 per item, then people will see that as a bargain. They will want more. Perhaps they were put off buying it at £10, and more people will then buy at cheaper rates because there would be a higher demand. So a favourable revenue variance could be because there's more items being sold at a cheaper price. That brings us to the end of task 7.